Are we sure this is the same Jordan Love? How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another video. So the Packers played at home on Friday against the Saints and ended up winning the game of a score of 20-10, although the score doesn't really matter when it comes to preseason. In this game, just like the first one against the 49ers, we had most of our starters not play or even suit up for the game. That includes Aaron Rodgers, AJ Dillon, Aaron Jones, Lazard, Watkins, Cobb, pretty much the entire first team defense outside of Quay Walker, as he is a rookie, but he gets taken out after a drive or two, so he doesn't play that long. And with the starters out, that means Jordan Love actually plays most of the game. In this one, he played all the way into the fourth quarter, only had one drive into the fourth quarter, but played pretty much the entire game. So to start off, the quarterbacks, how did they look? Jordan Love on the box score doesn't look too great. Once again, it's very similar to how the first game was. Jordan Love went 12 for 24, 113 yards and one touchdown, but no picks this time. Once again, if you're just looking at the box score, it looks a lot different than if you actually watch the game. Rookie receivers, they've had a couple drops. Romeo Doubs probably had about 3 drops again, so his stat line is not indicative to his actual performance. You watch the game, Jordan Love actually looked very good in this game. He was, for the most part, accurate. He was throwing balls away from defenders to where only the receiver could catch it, and he just looks so much more decisive this year. Like in the past couple of years, he looked uncomfortable, like he didn't exactly understand the offense, or he didn't know where to throw, and he was just waiting for a play. Now, like, he's snapping the ball, and he's already understood what the defense is giving him, and he's making quick snap decisions, and it's very impressive to see. He actually looks like potentially an above average quarterback, or he could become an above average quarterback. So his first 2 preseason games, if you don't look at the box score and you actually watch him play, he looks like a pretty decent quarterback. Now moving on to the running back group. On the rushing stats, there was a total of 34 carries for 178 yards, which ended up being a 5.2 average. That does include Danny Etling's long carry for 51 yards. So if we actually take out the QB runs, the running backs only had 117 yards on 27 attempts, which still led to a 4.3 average. So a pretty good day on the ground for them. Tyler Goodson looked good, had 10 carries for 42 yards, which ended up being a 4.2 yard average. But it's hard to say if a lot of that is Tyler Goodson. Like, yes, he looked good. He made quick decisions and good cuts to drive down the hole. But the offensive line was just creating holes everywhere. Like, especially Zach Tom. I'm getting a little ahead of myself because it is the offensive line, but Zach Tom and Newman on the right side were creating gaps to where I think any running back could just run through those holes. So I would give more credit to the offensive line because of the gaps they were creating for the running backs. So I expect them to have a good stat line. But just looking at Tyler Goodson, I still think he had a good day. Like I said, he was making quick cuts, quick decisions, and just driving through the hole. So he did his part. On to the receiving group. Juwann Winfree and Romeo Doubs led the receiving group. Both had 3 catches. Winfree with 41 yards on his 3 catches on 6 targets, and Doubs with 24 yards on his 3 catches and on 5 targets. But he also had a really good touchdown to where Jordan Love put it high in the end zone, and he went up and grabbed it. Like, it was an amazing catch by Doubs. So Doubs has consistently had these wow plays, like Aaron Rodgers says, but it seems like he also misses some of the easy ones. So if he can fix those easy catches, like there's one on a drag route where, yes, it was a little low, but he should have caught it. And then another on a deep comeback route where it kind of looks like he turned the wrong way, but it was a ball he should have caught. So if he can just fix those easy catches, or really their drops, those easy drops, then he could be an all-around great receiver. He's still on track to probably be our number 4 receiver, especially with Christian Watson not playing and being out, not getting the reps. So right now, I think Doubs is actually on track for the number 4 slot until Watson comes back and starts showing something in game. But if once again, if Doubs fixes that, he's going to be really, really damn good. And on to Renfrey. He has been doing this pretty much year in and year out, and it's finally nice that he has, knock on wood, been healthy during this preseason to finally showcase his skill, because he's always had an amazing training camp and offseason, but he's had crappy luck getting injured during the preseason and not being able to showcase. So he's finally getting the opportunity, and he's actually been showing up to where he'll probably, I feel like he'll make the roster. I think we'll keep 7 receivers, and I think he's going to make the roster. He has good hands, he runs good routes, and he's actually a decent run blocker, and that's something LaFleur likes in his receivers. And it's actually kind of a big knock on Doubs right now, because his run blocking hasn't been very impressive. He's actually kind of look a little lost on some of the run blocking. That could hurt Doubs, but that'll definitely hit Winfrey. Now moving on to the defensive side of the ball, our team looked a lot better defensively as a unit on all 3 phases. The Saints ended up running 133 yards on 27 attempts, but Ian Book, their quarterback for that game, had 49 yards on 7 rush attempts. So if we take that out of the equation, they actually only ran for 84 yards on 20 attempts, which led to a 4.2 yard average. So yes, it's still above a 4-point-yard average, but as a defense as a whole, they looked pretty good. And as for the passing defense, the only quarterback that threw for the Saints in this game was Ian Book. I'm going to be honest, I'd never heard of this man, so I had to look him up. He was a 4th-round draft pick by the Saints last year, and last year, his season stats, he only threw for 135 yards and had 2 picks. That's a very small sample size. That sounds terrible, but he played this entire game, and he went 16 for 28, 113 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. He doesn't look that good, but still, at least our defense did their job in not making him look like he could be a really good quarterback. So there's that, especially after last week where our pass defense looked atrocious. Our defense looked a lot better on this, especially with newcomer Micah Abernathy. I'm struggling to say that name. Micah Abernathy came up with a huge pick at the safety position, especially after earlier in this preseason game, Vernon Scott did leave the game with what looked like a shoulder injury. No news has come out to his actual injury, so another hit to the safety position. So insert Micah Abernathy, and he came in and he looked pretty good. He had a pick in this game, a really nice pick, and he's also been able to come down and get some stops behind the line of scrimmage. There was a nice screen on the left side where he came in like a rocket and pretty much tackled the receiver for a loss of like 3 yards. Had a very good game, especially just being signed on about a week ago. And along the lines of players that have been killing it, continuing his performance this preseason, Isaiah McDuffie has looked like a very good number 3 linebacker for us, inside linebacker at that. So it's kind of ironic that inside linebacker was such a problem for us for a while, and now it might be one of our strongest defensive positions on the team right now. Because right now, obviously, we have Devondre Campbell and Quay Walker as the starters. Devondre Campbell is a stud. Quay Walker, we hope, is going to be a stud. He is a rookie. We haven't seen much. He hasn't played that much, but we hope he is a stud. Isaiah McDuffie has started with the ones on preseason in both games, and he has excelled. He has made very quick decisions. He has been able to read what the offense is doing. He has been in there for tackles. I even seen this man run down on an outside, I'm pretty sure it was an outside pitch from the opposite side of the field to make a tackle, which only ended up being a 4-yard gain, which could have been easily about 12. So Isaiah McDuffie is having a heck of a preseason and pretty much solidifying that number 3 spot, and right behind him, Chris Barnes is probably going to be the 4th linebacker in the pecking order, and he's also been having a very good preseason, and he was a starter for us, and a very quality starter for us. So inside linebacker, ironic because we definitely did not care about that position. It is now probably our most depth position currently on defense. But despite all of the good talk on defense, there is a player that I was very disappointed with this game, and it was his first game in preseason, and that was Devontae Wyatt. He did not look good. Like, if you go back and watch just him, my man was kind of pushed around, and it was a little rough to watch, especially considering he was our second first round pick, and we all had high hopes, like, Dude's an athletic freak, and he was part of that historic Georgia defense. He just didn't look good, and this is against 2s and 3s for the Saints, so it wasn't a very good first showing. It's one game, so I'm not gonna panic, but still, to finally get our boy Devontae Wyatt out there and to see what I saw, it was a little nerve-wracking. So we'll see what happens next week, if he learns from it, what adjustments he makes, and hopefully it was just a one-game thing of nervousness or whatever you want to blame it on. But for his first game, that was very nerve-wracking. And lastly, our most favorite phase of the game, special teams. Special teams was terrible, especially in coverage. It was terrible. It looked like last year. At one point, we had 10 people on the field on kickoff coverage, and another time we had 12 people on the field. So it kind of triggered some bad memories of last year, seeing that, and was like, wow, we got a new coach. Dude's got like 20-30 years of experience in special teams, and I'm seeing the same stuff from last year. But it's preseason. They are mixing it up. They're getting different players out, seeing who can do what. So luckily, it's preseason. We don't have to be nervous, or shouldn't be nervous, even though we want to probably panic because it looked like last year. I fully expect Rich to go back to the tape, rip the special teams unit, and get things corrected, because in this game, they were very bad. Just on kick returns alone, they had 4 kick returns for 137 yards, which was an average of 34.3 yards. They had 2 long kick returns at that. One for 59 yards and another for, I think, about 40 yards. So it wasn't a good showing by them. So to sum all this up, it was a good game overall for the most part. Seeing the team, Jordan Love looked really good. The receivers are kind of making strides. Romeo Doubs still has to fix some of the things that I said in his first game, and that's his drops. He fixed his drops, which I have complete confidence he will. Even Devontae Adams, no, I'm not comparing him to Devontae Adams, but Devontae Adams had his problems with catches. The dude's release is amazing. He can get separation, and I think that's the hardest thing in my opinion. So the dude already has the intangibles in getting separation and getting behind the defense. Just has to catch the ball. He can fix that. He's going to be awesome. Juwan Winfrey looked good. Zach Tom, I hope he cracks the top 5, because man, his first 2 preseason games has looked really good, and he hasn't allowed a pressure. Now to pick some of the players that I feel like won and some players that lost in this game. Jordan Love definitely won this game. Looked very good. Had some pretty quality throws and just looked like a quarterback. So very nice to see from him. Isaiah McDuffie once again continuing his great preseason into this game, and he's just looking like a very good inside linebacker along with Chris Barnes. So both linebackers looking very good. Some players that didn't look so hot though. Tyler Davis. I know I didn't talk about him earlier. Tyler Davis has done nothing this preseason. He was talked about in training camp and in the offseason, but come preseason, that dude has been terrible. He's had 2 turnovers and he's done nothing. So what looked like he could potentially get the number 1 tight end spot, especially with Robert Tonyan out and Mercedes Lewis being pretty old. Tyler Davis, it was wide open for him. He had all the talk for him. I don't see that anymore currently after the first 2 preseason games, because he has looked terrible. And then the second player that I feel like didn't have a good game, Devontae Wyatt, as I stated earlier, he didn't look like a first round pick. He was just knocked around and had a very bad first game showcase. And the third, I know last week I said the entire secondary. Well, this week, pretty much the entire special teams unit, because they looked horrible. But we'll see how all this wraps up. We have our 3rd preseason game against the Chiefs. It is at Kansas City, and it'll be on the 25th. We don't have a 4th preseason game if you're used to that. So this will be our last preseason game to find out what we have in our players. But let me know what you think down in the comments. Hit the like button if you like the video. Subscribe to the channel. And as always, go Pack Go.